let's get on to Ukraine, Russia, and the fallout from the crisis. I've been thinking of you the last few years the last few weeks because you were a senior Treasury official throughout those two Clinton administrations in the 90s, which were really kind of trying to think through how Russia after the end of the Cold War, how Russia was going to fit into the international economic system, decisions around whether it should join the G7, all of those things. I mean, should we be doing more to hurt Russia economically now? What's your take on the kind of coordinated sanctions that have been achieved and the other actions that have been taken?
I think by the standards of history and tradition, we've done a great deal. By the standards of the magnitude of the problem, there's a lot more to do. Understand this. The ruble is now trading at the same exchange rate that it was before the war started. Russian banks are not experiencing runs. Every day, Russia is getting revenues from the export of its energy products that are comparable to or greater than they were receiving before the war because of increased energy prices. The limitation on the sale of goods to Russia has not been nearly as comprehensive as was imposed on Iran at earlier moments. The truth is that, in a sense, and I strongly support this, using economic tools is trying to fight a war without costs in blood. That is the right thing. But in important respects, we've been trying to fight an economic war without costs to households. From the first moment when the sanctions were introduced, and as it was explained that simultaneously we're going to be doing everything we could to keep gas prices under control, I have felt that there was a moral failure. And if this is a unique and extraordinary worst threat in 75 years of naked aggression, then we need to be prepared to make sacrifices at the level of accepting higher energy prices, wearing sweaters on days with cool weather, being a little hotter when we can't run air conditioners as strongly as we did before, sacrificing luxury exports to Russia and sacrificing mercantile commercial interests. I do not believe that enough has been done. I believe that much more needs to be done. I was glad to see the step that was taken yesterday to stop the Russians from using their frozen reserves to pay debt. But in a way, it was an extraordinary and remarkable thing that for the 6 previous weeks, they had been allowed to use their frozen reserves to prevent them from doing it. So I think that we have a long way to go in raising the pressure that we impose on sanctions. And frankly, I would prefer less rhetoric about the war criminality of what's going on, which it seems to me does not bring pressure to produce peace. If anything, slightly the opposite, by meaning that there's no exit strategy from this, less emphasis on that rhetoric, and much more emphasis on the imposition of economic pain. We saw in the United States in 2008 what cascading lack of confidence in finance can do to destroy the performance of an economy. It's extraordinarily counterintuitive for any financial person, but I think we need to engage exactly those forces as forces of destruction with respect to the Russian economy right now, recognizing that that may have some collateral implications for some few financial institutions in the West, and being prepared to provide the necessary kind of support. But I don't think we have yet stepped up fully in terms of engaging the tools of financial warfare. But let me just say a final thing, Stephanie, in fairness. That's how I see it. That's how I see it from the outside. But what I have is an outsider's view. And I've been an insider, and I have seen outsiders with naive views making it sound simpler than it is. And in fairness to those who are making the decisions, it may be that there are a whole set of collateral costs that they have thought through very carefully. But my instinct is that there's a good deal more that could be done. And I'd like to see some long queues outside some Russian financial institutions. I'd like to see some Russian defaults followed by the seizures of key Russian assets. And I'd like to see the ruble in free fall as part of judging the efficacy of a sanctions program.